This is what happens when the fourth turning meets fifth generation warfare.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Christ is king.
We are following breaking news just into CNN. A Georgia prosecutor officially dropped the historic racketeering case against President Trump and others for attempting to overturn the 2020 presidential election.
Clogged showers, inadequate lighting, mold growth, broken windows, methane gas leaks, fire alarms that don't work, non-existent heating. During the last administration, these were some of the chronic living conditions in our barracks. Even though these barracks are where hundreds of thousands of great warriors live, the conditions were never improved. So, the Department of War is investing more than $1.2 billion right now to improve barracks conditions. The task force is empowering local commanders, think garrison commanders, with more than $400 million to direct immediate work. And we're launching more than $800 million in critical barracks renovations immediately.
President Trump says only a few points of disagreement remain on a possible deal to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, with a U.S. official telling CBS News yesterday that Ukraine's government had agreed to a peace proposal in principle. Mr. Trump discussed the negotiations last night on Air Force One.
We're having some talks with Russia. Ukraine is doing well. I think they're pretty happy about it. They'd like to see it end. And we won't know for a little while, but we're making progress.
They're trying to get someone to start leaking classified information, national security information, like, oh, I don't know, the current peace negotiations between the United States, Ukraine, and Russia, leak that out to try to gin up yet another impeachment of President Trump.
The White House is under pressure tonight after an embarrassing leak. Bloomberg has obtained a transcript of a phone call between Donald Trump's right-hand man, Steve Wyckoff, and a key Vladimir Putin aide discussing the peace plan for Ukraine.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. We're here live, Real America's Voice. Folks, today is November 26, 2025, Anno Domini. And go listen to what we said yesterday. I sat down and did an interview with Liz Wheeler over on The Blaze. And we were talking about the Seditious Six, and I know I've said this here as well in other spots, and we were talking about why did I think the Seditious Six put out what they put out, said what they said, Senator Mark Kelly, the rest of them, why are they suborning sedition? Why are they asking for this? I said they're looking for another leak. They want someone to come forward and leak on them the same way that the phone call between Zelensky and Trump all the way back in 2019 was leaked. And they're trying to use this eventually to set up another impeachment, a color revolution, get Trump out of office. That's what this is all about. Well, little did I know that at 2, so Human Events Daily runs live 2 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. At 2:53 p.m. Eastern, so we're on air, we're live, there comes a story, exclusive Bloomberg News. And what does it say? They have just received a leaked phone call of Steve Wyckoff talking to the Russians, all about the Trump-Ukraine peace deal. It's Wyckoff Leaks, folks. It's not WikiLeaks anymore. It's Wyckoff Leaks. So someone, and we don't know who exactly, but someone with access to classified information. And if you remember, by the way, go back to the Mike Flynn leaks with the Russians, David Ignatius over the Washington Post. What did he do? He got a leak through FISA. So he got a leak through FISA, which was on the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak's phone. He got that leak of Mike Flynn talking to him during the transition period, and they used that to open up a Logan Act criminal investigation on National Security Advisor incoming Mike Flynn all the way back in December of 2016. Gosh, it's so long ago, 2016. So could it be that elements of the U.S. government, and we don't know if it was specifically the U.S. government, possibly CIA, possibly Ukraine, and they passed it to someone, we don't know exactly yet. But there was a conversation between Steve Wyckoff and the Russians, and they're having a conversation, negotiations, the peace deal is going in. He's talking about how the call is going to go, Trump and Putin, and they're talking about their bosses. Really basic stuff that happens during negotiations. And the media is going to be very upset. But yes, this is standard negotiation dialogue, which he's having. In fact, that's been Steve Witkoff's job. That's what he was asked to do. And in fact, by the way, duly noted and appointed by the president of the United States as a cabinet level position to go and seek peace with these various disputes. Now, we had Israel-Gaza a couple of months ago. Now we're looking at Russia-Ukraine, which has really become something of the white whale of this new administration, because, of course, you're looking at the end of the first year and people saying, is there going to be any end in sight? Now, I can personally attest to these efforts because I've been there in the room, traveled all the way to the presidential palace in Kiev with Secretary Bessent on the mineral deal, then traveled to Anchorage, Alaska with President Trump to sit down with Lavrov, and Vladimir Putin himself also was there when Zelensky came to the White House along with this coalition of the willing. And what did we see also? That Macron is now calling yet again for European troops and American troops to enter Ukraine to, quote, maintain the peace, be a peacemaking force on the ground. Well, let me tell you something right now, folks. The old dog doesn't have any new tricks. The neocons have one playbook and only one playbook, and that is to leak, to obfuscate, to subvert, and to try to keep the war going, because they don't want us focused on the invasion of our lands, places like Texas, places like Western Europe, where our leaders in those areas have been complete failures, and they don't want people waking up to what's actually going on. Jack Posobiec, right back, Human Events Daily.